Hi everyone, welcome to my PlayStation 4 game collection video. In this video we're going to go through my entire catalog of PlayStation 4 games. I believe this is the single largest collection I have for the 8th generation of consoles, so I have more games on the PS4 than I do for the PC, as well as the Xbox One. So there's just under 100 games here, I believe, but those of you who are keeping count can let me know in the comments. And just like the Xbox collection, we're going to go through all these one by one. I'm going to give you a quick idea of what I think about each one, and going to kind of move it quickly, just because there's a lot of games to get to. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thank you very much. Alright, so we're going to go through these in alphabetical order, just like we did with the Xbox One collection. First thing we have here is Ace Combat 7, Skies Unknown. This is the first ever Ace Combat game that I played, and I really enjoyed this game. The soundtrack for it is incredible. Just had a good time playing it. Next up we have Alien Isolation. This is one of the best horror games I've ever played, and probably my favorite horror game of all time, right next to the original Outlast. Just incredibly tense. You know, I know this game like the back of my hand, and each time I still go through it, it's still incredibly intense and just crazy. I absolutely love it. Next up we have Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. This is probably tied for my most favorite Assassin's Creed of all time, next to Assassin's Creed 2. I just love the location, I love the pirate atmosphere, the characters. They did a great job with it, the naval battles as well. Next up we have Batman Arkham Knight. So this is the end of the Batman Arkham trilogy, and I actually really enjoyed this game. I know a lot of people have issues with the storytelling in this game in particular, but I thought it to be a very good end to the character and to the story that Rocksteady was telling, and I really enjoyed it. Get these games to stop falling. We have Battlefield 4. So this is a launch title for the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. And I think Battlefield 3 was an overall more fun game, at least from the multiplayer standpoint. I did think the campaign in Battlefield 4 was a big improvement over the Battlefield 3 campaign, but still one of the more fun multiplayer games this generation. Next up we have Bloodborne. So I never played a Souls-like game before, and I took a chance on this, and I was immediately hooked. I can see why people love this game and love, you know, these types of styles of games. I was so addicted to this, and you know, beat it, and it was just really incredible. It's an unforgettable experience. Next up we have Bulletstorm Full Clip Edition. This is the remaster of Bulletstorm, the original Bulletstorm, which I played on the 360. Although in this one you can play as Duke Nukem. They added that since Gearbox is the one who published this game. Yeah, it's the same great fun shooters. You know, they don't make games like this anymore that are sort of lighter tone, and this is kind of fun to go back and you know, just sort of re-experience it. The visuals still really hold up. Next up we have Call of Duty Ghosts. So I think when you look at the Call of Duty series, this game teaches you to like the most varied locations in all of them. I mean, because you go everywhere in this game, but the actual game itself, very basic and bare bones, one of the more unforgettable Call of Duties in my opinion. Next up we have Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. This is one of the best Call of Duty campaigns out of the entire series in my opinion. Just phenomenal. This is the Legacy edition of the game, which you had to buy to get Modern Warfare Remastered. Now you can actually buy it separately on disc. But yeah, the actual campaign for this game is phenomenal. The multiplayer is absolute trash. Next up we have Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the reboot. So I really enjoyed this game from a single player campaign standpoint. Kind of reinvigorated my love for the Call of Duty series. Again, I'm really excited for Black Ops Cold War. I was expecting and hoping the multiplayer was going to bring me back to this series as well, but it just didn't with Modern Warfare. I didn't like the way that they did the multiplayer. Crash Bandicoot, the Insane Trilogy. This is all three Crash Bandicoots remade for the PlayStation 4. The visual style of this game is phenomenal, to be honest with you. I really like the animation work, and I went through and played all three of the Crash games and beat them on this collection. So very challenging, but a lot of fun. Next up we have The Crew. Very boring, lackluster racing game. Really, its only saving grace is it has this ginormous map, which is the entire United States, but the actual game itself is very boring, very repetitive, and not really rewarding at all, so I dropped it after about 5 hours. Next up we have Days Gone. So I really enjoyed this game. It took a while to sort of get going, but you know, once it started going, I mean, it didn't stop. Really great story, cool gameplay that's rewarding, and if you stick with it, this is a very fun gameplay experience. Next up, we have Death Stranding. This is the Amazon UK slipcover, which I had to have imported for the US. And then I have the little collector's edition steelbook here. I think out of all the games that I played this generation, Death Stranding for me was the most impactful. It's a game that I still think about constantly, and I beat it like 3-4 months ago. It's such an incredible experience. Next up, we have Destiny. This is the steelbook that you got when you purchased the collector's edition of the game. I didn't really get into this game. I didn't really like it that much, to be honest. I actually enjoyed the competitive multiplayer, and I think I played Destiny 1 more than I actually ended up playing Destiny 2. And of course, we have Destiny 2, speaking of. So this game added a single-player campaign, and that was pretty much it. They still kept with the same sort of gameplay with it. I didn't play this game much. I played the single-player campaign. I thought it was fun. Had some fun moments. But most of the game for me was rather forgettable, to be quite honest with you. Next up, we have Detroit Become Human. I think this is probably Quantic Dream's best game. There's so much variability in terms of the control you have and where you can go and stuff, and just really, really, really enjoyed it. It's such a great story as well. Next up, we have Dragon Age Inquisition. I never played a Dragon Age game before, but I took a chance on this, and I actually really enjoyed this game. The only issue I have with this game is that it's the combat system. I just didn't find it as, enthralling or really interesting, or holding a button the entire time. Next up, we have Dreams. So this is from the guys who made Little Big Planet back on the PS3, which I hated. I did not like Little Big Planet at all. This game is phenomenal, though. I'm very, very, very impressed. It's not really a game. It's more like a gateway into other games. But just to see what people can create with that, photorealistic visuals, really good replications of other games, it's really impressive. Next up, we have Drive Club. This is actually one of my favorite racing games that released this generation. I really, 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 really like this game. It's unfortunate because the studio behind this, Evolution Studios, the guys who made the MotorStorm games on the original PlayStation 3, no longer exist, and that was their last outing. But I really like the driving in that game. The graphics are still incredible to this day. Dying Lights. So if you told me that one of the developers behind one of the worst games last generation were going to make one of the best games the following generation, I would have just completely shook my head and said you're full of shit, but they did. This game is phenomenal, and I'm very, very excited for Dying Light 2. Can't wait for that. Next up, we have the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim Special Edition. I wasn't really planning to buy this, but then I heard it's native 4K on the PS4 Pro. So I put, obviously I played Skyrim when it was brand new. I did videos for you guys on that back in the day, and played it, beat it, put 80 hours in it on the 360. So I'll go back to play it again, probably before Elder Scrolls 6 comes out at some point. Next up, we have The Evil Within. So this game was a good base, I feel like. Interesting premise. The storytelling was unfortunately all over the place. The gameplay I felt was somewhat decent. It's not really as scary, it just has the tense moments. But I felt like this is a good start to something. And then we have The Evil Within 2, which honestly is one of the best games this generation, an incredible sequel. They improved on all the aspects of The Evil Within 1, and then they innovated on top of that improvement. It's very, very impressive. Such a great game. Next up, we have Evolve. Who remembers this game? This game was hyped like crazy because it was the guys behind the Left 4 Dead series. And it had such a short shelf life, and no one ever really talks about this. I don't know what the studios is actually up to these days, but yeah, what an unfortunate just demise for this game. It really just ended quickly. I played it for about 4 hours, and never touched it again. I didn't find it that interesting. Far Cry 4. I felt this was a lackluster follow-up to Far Cry 3, which was the best, in my opinion, of the entire Far Cry series. So yeah, I feel like it's a beautiful game, cool for the next generation. You had upgraded graphics and whatnot at the time, but yeah, I just felt they tried to do Far Cry 3 again, but they didn't even accomplish that. And then next up we have Final Fantasy VII, the remake. I haven't played this yet. It's still sealed, as you can see. But we'll be getting to it soon. I never played the original Final Fantasy VII, but I did play the demo for this when it was released months before the game was actually out. And actually really liked the combat system. I was very surprised because I typically don't like turn-based style games, and I like the hybrid that they did for that. Then we have Final Fantasy 15. So I think this game was like what sparked sort of my end for purchasing collector's editions in games. This is the ultimate collector's edition I had to get from Square Enix. I spent like a ridiculous amount of money on this. It comes with the Kingsglaive and on Blu-ray, and then the actual game itself. And yeah, the actual game itself, I will say I really enjoyed parts of it, but I feel like you could definitely feel like it's underutilized, or there's so much more potential that it had that just wasn't, unfortunately, it ever reached that point. Next up we have For Honor. So I really didn't enjoy this game. I know a lot of people are sort of hardcore fans of it to this day. But yeah, I'm not really into the combat system. Again, it's another one of Ubisoft's games that are going for more competitive multiplayer, and the actual single-player experience is incredibly forgetful. And then we have Ghost of Tsushima. So I haven't played this. I know. Don't worry, I'll be getting to it soon. But yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to it. I just love, the whole Japanese history and all that stuff, just the style that they're going for with this. It looks incredible, and I can't wait to get to it. I will get to it soon, I promise you that. Next up, we have God of War 2018, the reboot for the series. Absolutely a phenomenal game. This is coming from someone, myself. I never liked the God of War series. I never liked the gameplay, just never liked the structure of the game. And I played this, and I'm a fan. I'm very, very impressed with what they did with this game from top to bottom. It's just an incredible adventure. All right, next up we have Gran Turismo Sport. So I feel if you look at this game as sort of GT7 Prologue, it's actually a very, very good outing and a good showcase for what they could do with Gran Turismo. It's not a full-fledged Gran Turismo game. It's more geared towards online racing, which is sort of unfortunate. But the actual driving in this game, the features that are in that game, it's very impressive. I'm very excited for Gran Turismo 7 on the PS5. That's going to be really cool. Grand Theft Auto 5. So of course, Grand Theft Auto, really enjoyed it. I do feel like I liked Grand Theft Auto 4 better, just its storytelling. This is a more, comedic satire approach. I like Grand Theft Auto 4's darker tone. For all you guys who are complaining that we haven't had Grand Theft Auto 6 by now, those of you who love Grand Theft Auto Online, it's your fault. Alright, next up we have Gravity Rush Remastered. So this is probably the rarest game I have in my collection. And the reason is because I actually didn't realize this, but Amazon.com was the only seller of the physical version of this game. So when I pre-ordered the game, I thought I was just pre-ordering any other game. I didn't realize that I was basically getting a rare version of the game. So that game actually cost upwards of like $100 or so for the physical version of it. Very expensive. Next up, we have Gravity Rush 2, the follow-up sequel. I'm actually really happy that this series got a sequel, and they did a great job with this. Some of the best physics engines I've ever seen this generation, and just ever, to be honest. It's incredible. The actual technology behind it is very, very impressive, and it's actually a very good sequel as well. Horizon Zero Dawn. So I didn't love this game like everyone else did. I really enjoyed the world and just the style of it. I thought was fantastic. The only issue for me on this game was the combat, and I didn't enjoy using your bow and arrow and these tribal weapons. I know that they wanted to go away from the sci-fi shooting of Killzone, which I can appreciate, but I really would have appreciated just some elements of gunplay in there, maybe as like a power-up or something, I don't know. But I'm excited for Horizon 2 Forbidden West. That's going to be really cool. Next up, we have Infamous Second Son, probably the worst in the entire Infamous series. But still, a very solid game in its own right. I like the location Seattle. I think the graphics are still very, very impressive and do hold up, so that's awesome. The game was also updated later to support HDR, which is great. And then we have Injustice 2. So a very solid follow-up to the original Injustice, continuing the story. I said this when I played it, and I'll say it again in this video. I feel like Injustice is a better Justice League movie than the Justice League movie, which is a bit hilarious when you think about it. But yeah, very solid fighting game. Next up we have Judgment. This is the spin-off game from the guys behind the Yakuza series, and I haven't played this yet. I'm really, really looking forward to playing it, but I've heard just fantastic things about it, so I will get to it in time. Next up we have Killzone Shadowfall, a launch title for the PS4, still one of the best looking games on the console. I really enjoyed what they did with the gameplay of this game, really allowing for exploration and sort of your own play style. They allowed a lot more freedom when it came to that, and I enjoyed it. I know a lot of people sort of gave the game shit, I think because it was a launch title, but I thought it was a very solid outing for the Killzone series. Next up we have Knack, another launch title for the PS4. This one I actually didn't enjoy. It's very challenging, to my surprise. This is a very, very challenging game, but very old school in game design, very simplistic. I think it's very impressive from an animations and graphical standpoint, but the actual game itself I couldn't really get into. I did complete it though. The Last Guardian. So, man, it's pretty interesting to think about the history of this game. Originally a PlayStation 3 game that just went through development hell. They finally got it out for the PS4. I really enjoyed this game. I enjoyed the storytelling of it. I got a little bit emotional at the end even. I know some people have issues with the gameplay, but you know, I don't feel like that was terrible enough to outweigh the positives of that game. Then we have The Last of Us Remastered. It's just a remaster of the PS3 version in 60 frames per second and 4K even. It's been upgraded on the PS4 Pro with HDR, so nice to have this. And then we have The Last of Us Part 2. I haven't played this yet. Just like Ghost of Tsushima, I will be getting to it very soon, and yeah, I'll be giving my opinions on that when I do, so in time. Alright, next up we have Lords of the Fallen. So I heard very negative things about this game before I played it, and I gave it a chance, and honestly I didn't feel it was as bad as what people were saying. I think the graphics are still very impressive to this day, but it's a very slower paced, much more heavy Dark Souls-esque style of game, but still kind of enjoyable. Mafia 3. Probably the worst in the entire Mafia series, but I still feel like it is a solid outing. My only issue with this game was really the structure of how they delivered your missions. You're not really doing exciting stuff. I much preferred the more linear style mission structure of Mafia 2 and the Mafia remake as well. And then we have Mass Effect Andromeda. So definitely doesn't hold a candle to the Mass Effect trilogy. However, once this game's all patched up and you play it and, you know, without any of the issues that you had at launch, I still feel like this is a solid first outing for the start of something new. The characters could use some work, but I feel like, you know, it was a good first attempt. So we'll have to see what happens to this series. Next up, Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. A lot of people called this a glorified demo when it came out. I really enjoyed this, man. I put a lot of time into this game, like 20 hours. I was addicted to the gameplay and just had a great time. And then that led me to really enjoy Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. So this game holds the record for the longest single playthrough it took me to complete this game. I completed every side ops, every mission, did pretty much everything in the game, and it took me 127 hours. That's more than I spent in Witcher 3, more than I spent in Skyrim or any of those other large open world games. It's actually quite crazy. Metro Redux. This is the remaster of the first two Metro games, just on the PS4. The first one, Metro 23, never made it to a PlayStation console before, so this is sort of a first for PlayStation fans. But they did a good job with that. It's just sort of the PC ports, you know, ported over to the consoles. And then we have Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor, the first entry in the Middle-earth series from Monolith. A very good first outing, I feel. Good storytelling, good gameplay, sort of built on that Assassin's Creed style, but I actually really enjoyed it with the unique twist of the Nemesis system. Then we have Mortal Kombat 10. So I feel like this is a disappointing outing next to Mortal Kombat 9, or the Mortal Kombat reboot, whatever you want to call it. But still a good, solid fighter in its own right. You know, good graphics at the time. I didn't enjoy the story as much as Mortal Kombat 9, but I still felt it was decent. Next up we have Murdered Soul Suspect. So this is a very cool investigative type of game where you're basically investigating your own murder. And it's got this cool, unique twist at the end of the story there, which is pretty cool. So I feel like this was a good sort of a one-off. You know, it's one of those games that we get at the beginning of the generation, one of those cool new IPs that just goes with an interesting concept. And, you know, we don't really see games like that anymore, unfortunately. Need for Speed Rivals. One of the more boring Need for Speeds released, in my opinion. I think decent graphics for the time, but I didn't play this game much because just the way that it sort of delivered its races. I didn't really find any rhyme or reason to what there's no story to follow, or there's no set mission structure to follow. You're just sort of running around doing whatever. Then we have Need for Speed 2015. So an unfortunate reboot of the series. I feel like the graphics are really, really impressive still to this day. It's really nice how they sort of blend the reality and the game graphics. The actual game itself is decent, but yeah, again, one of the more forgettable Need for Speeds, definitely. Nier Automata. This is one of the best games I played this generation. Actually, it's probably the most innovative game I played this generation. One of the most innovative, I should say. I absolutely love this game to death. I never played the original Nier, but I played this, played it twice. I still need to do my third playthrough of the game. I actually went and bought the original Nier on the 360, and now they're remaking the original Nier for the PS4 and Xbox One. I hope it gets a next-gen release as well. Incredible game. I cannot recommend Nier Automata enough. It's a phenomenal, phenomenal game. Neo, so this game's probably the hardest of the Souls-like games of that genre, I could say. It's very, very, very fast-paced, and your timing is absolutely critical. But very rewarding, very challenging. I enjoyed the style of it as well. And of course, we have Neo 2, the sequel, which is actually a prequel to the first game. As you can see, still sealed, so I haven't actually played this yet, but we'll be getting to it soon. Next up, we have No Man's Sky, a game with all this hype surrounding it and just launched to like abysmal scores and lots of people pissed off. So I actually waited on this game, and then I gave it a chance after people telling me to go play it after they updated a bunch of stuff. It's not a game of style that I can necessarily get into. I don't like the type of, I guess the style and what it is. You go out and you sort of do your own thing. So, but still, I mean, I can appreciate it for its graphical art direction. Next up, we have The Order 1886. I really, really wish this game got a sequel. I feel like it's a very good, first outing. The only problem with this game is that it's very short, and but everything else around it is very solid mechanics. I like the style that they were actually going for, and it's unfortunate we're probably never going to get a sequel to that game. But I think it could have been something incredible if the team really iterated and created something outstanding. Outlast Trinity. So this is just basically the first two Outlast games with the DLC for Outlast 1 on disc. That's really the only reason I bought it, to be honest with you. So it's nice to have these on disc, and I love the Outlast series. And then we have Project Cars. So I tried to get into this game, but I just couldn't, man. It's so complex. There's so many different levels of customization and event types that you can get into with this game. I feel like, if you love racing games and you're really into track racing and stuff, that's like the perfect game for you. But for the more casual person like me, it's not so inviting or welcoming to new players. Alright, next up we have Ratchet & Clank on the PS4. So this I really, really enjoyed, to my surprise. It's been a very long time since I played a Ratchet & Clank game, but I really like what they did with this game's visuals. I mean, it looks amazing. The HDR is one of the most transformative HDR presentations I've seen this generation. Just fantastic, and really excited for Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart on PS5. Alright, next up we have Resident Evil 3, the remake. I just played this recently, and I really enjoyed it. I think standing up to Resident Evil 2, yes, it is a worse game, or I should say it isn't as complete as Resident Evil 2. I feel like they could have done more if they didn't decide to focus on the multiplayer for this game, which is a new addition to the franchise that didn't do that well, but I still thought it was a very solid outing in its own right. And then we have Resident Evil 7. So a very good reboot, or just a brand new re-entry for the series. I'm very much looking forward to Resident Evil 8. Resident Evil 7 is fantastic, and still such a great game. Shadow of the Colossus by Bluepoint Games. These guys are making the Demon's Souls remake right now on PS5, which I'm really, really excited for. They just did a great job with this game. I mean, the visuals are all updated, the gameplay is all updated, and I never played the original Shadow of the Colossus, so it was really nice to go back and just experience the game with the new visuals. They did such a great job with that. Shadow Warrior, so this is more of a comedic sort of Doom style of game. Very fast-paced, very gritty, but, it has a very light tone to it in a way, and I actually really like this game. And I did play Shadow Warrior 2 on the PC, and we have Shadow Warrior 3 coming out as well. Sherlock Holmes Crimes and Punishments, one of the best detective games I played in quite a long time. I would say that the last detective game that I feel was as solid as this was L.A. Noire. So if you like L.A. Noire, definitely give this game a shot. It's a really great outing, and very mature as well. Then we have Sherlock Holmes, The Devil's Daughter. This was the sequel to Crimes and Punishment that basically just ruined everything that I loved about that game. Very glitchy. The visuals are terrible on this, and the game just is not nearly as interesting. I couldn't beat this game. For me, like, to not complete a game, and I'll force myself to complete lots of shit games at times, but for me to actually quit, like, it's got to be really bad, and it was. Sniper Elite 3, probably my favorite in the entire Sniper Elite series. I just love the setting. I love Africa as a setting for the game. Very bright, desert landscapes. Love the level design. I thought they did a good job with that. Next up, we have The Amazing Spider-Man 2. So this game is actually another rare game that I have in my collection. When Activision's license for Spider-Man ended, all their games, they had like a cease and desist notice come out, and all their games shot up in price. So if you try to buy this game right now, it's like $40 or even more brand new, and it's a really crappy game, but still. Then we have Marvel Spider-Man from 2018. An incredible game, finally a true to heart Spider-Man game, the game that Spider-Man really deserves, and very much looking forward to Miles Morales on the PS5. That's going to be very cool. And then we have Spyro, the Reignited Trilogy. So I love Spyro back on the original PlayStation. Used to play those games a ton when I was a kid. This one's still sealed, so I haven't actually got to this yet, but we'll be getting to it soon. These games are sort of my downtime games. Whenever I beat something, I'm looking for something to play sort of in between. This is the type of game that I sort of just fire up. Then we have Steep. So this was Ubisoft's attempt at what I thought was going to be the return for these great sports games like Tony Hawk series and SSX and all these great games, but unfortunately... Oh, that's nice. Unfortunately, it was not. This game was very disappointing, and I didn't play it for more than a couple hours. And I believe it actually died fairly quickly as well. You never see anyone talk about it. Next up, we have Street Fighter V. So a very disappointing game next to the great Street Fighter 4, in my opinion. Released very half-assed. This is a console exclusive for the PlayStation 4. And I think this is really the end of really, or I should say rather the beginning of Capcom sort of rebooting itself and just really putting a lot of effort into their games. Because after that game released, all their games just got like instantly incredible. So yeah, I think that was like sort of the last poor outing for Capcom, which is nice. You know, at least they're on a winning streak now. Then we have the original Surge. So I was very surprised about this game. I was not expecting to really like it as much as I did. But I really like the style of it. I like the sci-fi-esque style, and just the world I found was very fascinating, going through this large sort of mega corporation structure. And yeah, I actually really enjoyed the game, and I'll get to Surge 2 in time. Then we have Tekken 7. So a very solid fighting game. I haven't played a Tekken in a very long time. I think since Tekken 3 or 4, honestly, was the last one I played. So going, you know, sort of re-experiencing the Tekken series again, this time on a new generation, was fantastic. I really like what they did with this game. They just did a really solid one. And then we have Thief. So again, I was probably one of the few who liked this game. I do agree that next to the great Deus Ex Human Revolution, Eidos Montreal did not even do nearly as good of a job rebooting this series like they did with Deus Ex. And unfortunately, the story was sort of ended on a cliffhanger and wasn't really that interesting, to be honest. The gameplay, though, I really liked the stealth gameplay of it. So I feel like if they did a sequel, they could really improve on a lot. And then we have Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. This is sort of just the remaster of Tomb Raider 2013 for the PS4. They went in and redid her character model, which, you know, some people liked or some people didn't like. But still, you know, it's as solid as ever. Great Tomb Raider game. And then we have Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, the remake. Seeing what Vicarious Productions did with this game was just incredible. And yeah, it's such just an incredible reimagining. I used to love Tony Hawk, and you know, we haven't really got a good Tony Hawk game for a very long time. So seeing those games come back is just that's awesome. And we have Skate as well coming back, which is fantastic. Trials Fusion. So I never played the Trials game before, but my friend told me to go ahead and give this one a shot. He said it's really, really good. I'm very happy that he recommended it to me. This game is fantastic. I had a lot of fun playing this, just the laughs and stuff while playing it. It's just a great, addictive, fun game. And then we have Uncharted, the Nathan Drake Collection. Just the first 3 Uncharted games remastered for the PS4. Very simple, sort of remastered, except for Uncharted 1, they did go in and actually upgrade his character model, which was nice. I'm a huge Uncharted fan, so naturally I love this. I just wish they put the multiplayer into Uncharted 2 and 3. Now the multiplayers are dead, and those used to be so much fun, so it's a bit sad. Next up we have Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, a very solid ending to the Nathan Drake character, and what I hope is going to be the end of the series. I really don't know how I feel about different studios sort of taking on Uncharted, and I really do appreciate it when developers just let things die with a good conscience. You know, don't sit there and kill it and keep doing crappy games and stuff like that. You created a great series, just let it end. But you know, money talks in this industry, so we'll see. Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, originally a DLC expansion for Uncharted 4, then later turned into a full-fledged game. Very, very, very awesome game. A lot of people may think this is actually better than Uncharted 4. I don't know. There are certain elements that I like between both games, but I feel in terms of a Uncharted spin-off game, they did a great job, and I love the storytelling. You know, Chloe as a character, she's fantastic, as she always was in the Uncharted series. So really like The Lost Legacy. Until Dawn. So these developers are currently working on the Dark Pictures anthology right now, but this being I think their first game or around their first game or something like that, I really enjoyed it. It has a great twist with its story, very intense, very cinematic, built on the Killzone engine, and it just looks phenomenal. Very good game. The original Watch Dogs. This game got a lot of shit when it came out because of its graphical controversy that still honestly can be felt to this day. I still feel that the gameplay, though, was very fun and very solid. I enjoyed playing this game. Some people just, because the graphics weren't as good as what was shown to us, they immediately shat on the game. And I just feel like in its own right, the game is more than how it looks. You know, it's part of the experience. And I really enjoyed the actual gameplay for it. Watch Dogs 2, just about as polar opposite of a game from its tone as you can get from the original Watch Dogs. And I feel like they really improved on everything in terms of the gameplay of it. The characters and the storytelling, I do feel wasn't as interesting, or I just like the darker tone of the original Watch Dogs more than the lighter tone feel of Watch Dogs 2, but that game was in direct response to basically the just the straight narrow character that Aiden Pierce was in that game. Then we have Wipeout: The Omega Collection, an incredible collection of games. Wipeout remade on the PS4 with just incredible visuals. This is native 4K on the PS4 Pro. This is what I'm currently playing right now for my downtime game, and I'm just blown away by the visuals every single time I play it. The HDR as well is impeccable. It's such a great remake of all those games. And then we have The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, probably the best RPG that we got this generation. An incredible game. And I played both expansions and the full game, and I just love this game to death. I'm very excited for Cyberpunk 2077, but I'm gonna wait for that next gen version. I don't trust that game running on the base consoles. Then we have Wolfenstein: The New Order, one of the best FPSs of all time in my opinion. The way that this game handles its gunplay, you can literally feel every shrapnel, every bullet leaving the chamber of your gun as you're firing. It's incredible, very rewarding, amazing story, so much variety in terms of how you can approach missions. I think they did a phenomenal job with The New Order. Yakuza 0. This is the best in the franchise in my opinion, and as I said in my Yakuza 6 review video, I definitely recommend anyone who's thinking about giving this series a shot, play Yakuza 0. It's phenomenal. From top to bottom, one of the best stories in gaming, honestly. It's just a great game. Fantastic. And then next up we have Yakuza Kiwami. This is the remake of the original Yakuza on the PS4. I love this steelbook, which you just got if you purchase the game. It's pretty awesome. And yeah, I played the original Yakuza, but through a demo on the PS2 using a demo disc, by the way. So I never got to play the full-fledged original game, but I really enjoyed going back and sort of looking at that, and they did a great job with the storytelling and the visuals. Then we have Yakuza Kiwami 2, which is a remake of the second Yakuza game, but this time built on the brand new Dragon engine, which was their PS4 engine, which changes up the gameplay dramatically. And just a great game. It's just awesome to me. You have literally all the Yakuzas on one console, and you have the remakes of these games. It's just fantastic. And speaking of, we're almost done. We got Yakuza, the Remastered Collection. This includes Yakuza 3, 4, and 5, remastered on the PS4. Honestly, I'm just a bit disappointed in the fact that it's only a simple remaster. They literally just upgrade the resolution, upgrade the frame rate, and the textures stay the same, the pop-in stays the same. I really feel like they should have done more. One thing is nice though, they give you this, a Yakuza 5 PS3 case, because Yakuza 5 never released in the US through a physical collection. You could only download it. So it's really awesome that they did that for the fans. And if you looking to get into the Yakuza franchise, that's a great collection to pick up because you got all those games on one console. And then lastly, Yakuza 6, The Song of Life. This is the end to Kazuma Kiryu's character line, and they just did a great job, I feel like, ending the story for him. And it just solidified my love for this series, and really, really enjoyed it. So, very, very solid game. And that's my entire PS4 collection, guys. We went through all of that, and yeah, there's quite a lot of games there. Not as much as I have on, like, let's say the 360, but this is a very different generation, But I love the PlayStation 4 for all those, type of games. It was a fantastic console. And yeah, I guess we'll be looking to see how big the PS5 and the Series X collection grows in time. Already sort of, just keeping an eye on the news to see which console is going to deliver the definitive gameplay experience. I wonder if that SSD that Sony has is really going to make a significant difference, or is the extra horsepower that the Series X has with its GPU going to just push the graphic fidelity far beyond what the PS5 can do. So we're going to have to wait and see for that. But hope you guys enjoyed my collection video. I know you guys have been asking for this for quite a long time, so it's great to finally put it out there. And you guys have a fantastic day, and let me know what you guys think of any of those games. All right? Have a good one.